वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वानुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततत्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Om. So some of you that attended the morning class saw there was a lot of sound problems, and that was because the iPad which we had set up was giving me a blank screen, and so I could not really use the iPad. And as a backup, I started to use my Android phone, and for some reason the sound there is not well. Well, the second class, the iPad has certainly started working again, and so it should be okay. But what I thought I would do before I start the class, I will log in from my laptop to see if there's any issues with the sound, and look at your feedback now as opposed to the end of the class, and so then we can proceed. So let me do that. That's what I'm doing now. How come I'm not able to see the sound and look at your feedback now as opposed to the end of the class, and so then we can proceed. So let me do that. Oh, good. So Darshana said the sound is perfect and all okay. Kirsten says, so I will close this off and then proceed on with the class. And for those of you that had attending the first class, we're going to repair the audio. You can either listen to the audio itself, or we will try to repair the video with the audio. So just give me another day or so to get that done. So apologies for that, but looks like it's all back on track now. Thank you. Okay, so let us chant 5 verses of the 8th chapter, starting with verse number 20. So 20 to 24, which we will do today. Some of it, maybe not all of it. So start with verse number 20 of Adhyaya of chapter 8. Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. Again, parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati Saya sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati avyaktoksharaityuktastam ahu paramam gatim avyaktoksharaityuktastam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante taddhama paramam mama yam prapya na nivartante taddhama paramam mama purushassa parah partha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya purushassa parah partha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginaha yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginaha prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami bharatarshava prayata yanti tam kalam vakshyami bharatarshava agnir jyotir iha jyotir aha shuklaha shanmasa uttarayanam agnir jyotirah shuklaha shanmasa uttarayanam tatra prayata gachanti brahma brahma vido janaha tatra prayata gachanti brahma brahma vido janaha. Okay, so let us continue on what we have been discussing. So one general thing to keep in mind as we proceed on the understanding of Vedanta, that both from a macro perspective and from the micro perspective, both from Paramatma, Ishvara standpoint, and the individuals like you and I standpoint, the Jivatma, Jiva standpoint, things are almost completely identical. So we use the word almost completely means that it, for all intents and purposes, they're identical. Here's what we have to really grasp. Where it is not identical is where I have a sense of isolation from the world. And Ishvara does not. This is it. And in the teaching of Vedanta, this is considered to be, this is a very huge thing for us. Would you say this is not a minor thing? But Vedanta says that in the scheme of things is very minor. This is what praptasya prapti is, means that it's already a done deal. You just have to grasp it. That's it. Otherwise, there is no, in all manifestations and the non-manifestations, the two are identical. For all intents and purposes, the two are identical. And so, in fact, this is what the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, etc. mean. So this identity between Jivatma and Paramatma is just like in the case of saying that this person that you saw 20 years ago and the one person that you're seeing now is one and the same. Yeah, the body has changed and so on, but the person remains the same. So similarly here also, the Ishvara and Jiva appear to be slightly different, but those are minor compared to the intrinsic qualities of the two, which is they are the same. This is what I have to see. And we have to see this by not a sudden revelation, but a gradual revelation of the identity at each level. This is the important thing to see. Therefore, I get educated by questioning and answering my doubts at various levels of my understanding. So, for example, That Ishvara is ajanma, janma rahita, never born. There was never a case where he was not there. It's the same situation for the jiva. Jiva also was never born. He has always been there. Similarly, the Ishvara is independent of death, amrityu. Mrityu also is also nothing but a manifestation of it. The jiva is the same. You and I also is amrityu. But in our sense of isolation, we might think, how can you say that? Because there is death and so on. And we'll go into that a little bit more detail today. But eventually I have to understand that my nature is one where mrityu cannot touch me. This is what I have to see. So it's a question of just being able to see it, my own distorted viewpoint, that's all. But in terms of the reality of both Paramatma and Jivatma, they are identical. And for all aspects of it. Another aspect of it which there is identity is this whole thing about manifestation and non-manifestation. So it appears to disappear as though it's a brand new one. We saw in the day of the Brahmaji, there is trillions of lives involved. Trillions of years involved, not lives, but trillions of years involved. And then the whole thing becomes quiet for another trillion years. And then it starts again. So this is the day of the Brahmaji and the night of the Brahmaji. Identical situation to us. In fact, we are supposed to examine the identity at a micro level and say, yes, this is exactly how it is. We also have the day and the night. In the night, we virtually disappear. We disappear. Of course, we do not completely disappear from the others' viewpoint. We might be snoring and disturbing the others. But as far as the rest of the world is concerned, I disappear. It doesn't bother me at all. There's a virtual disappearance, unmanifestation. So this manifestation, unmanifestation is also identical between Ishvara and Jiva. In fact, I think another way to look at the Ishvara and Jiva identity is like that of a magician who wields a magic. So the magic is common between the magician and the spectators. It is just that the spectators do not understand the magic. And so they are under the spell of the magic as though. But once they understand the magic, it is no longer a magic. Then they become like a magician. Just the other day, our younger granddaughter, now we have 3 of them, so the second one, was telling us that she has learned some new card tricks. And it's all done from YouTube now. You can actually get all these card tricks, and she's very fond of it. Her sister doesn't really have anything to do with his card tricks, but this Sienna really loves it. So the other day we were saying, she would say, you want us to show you the new card trick? And it was really pretty elaborate. I don't know how it is done. You pick out a card and then it got all shuffled up, and then she comes up and he says, this was your card. So before we could say, wow, Sienna, this is just amazing. She said, shall I tell you how to do it? And my wife was about to say yes, and I said no. No, I don't want to see it. Because once I see how the card trick is done, it's no longer a wonder for me. Right now, I'm very appreciative of this young girl who does such a good job of it. I want to keep those feelings. So I chose not to understand that. But that's the only difference between Paramatma and Jivatma. He's the wielder of the magic, and we are the spectators. But at some point in time, once the magic is explained, this is what Vedanta does, really, then there is virtual identity. Virtual identity means that the qualities of Ishvara become my qualities. Really speaking, our quest in life is to imbibe the qualities of Ishvara in us. And it's possible. It is possible because it is already done. I just have to remove the covering. It's like the sunlight is already there, but I just have to remove the window cover or to remove the clouds, as you may. That's a good example to say the clouds. So the clouds are the ones that cloud my judgment towards how life should be and how I should do things and so on. Once I correct that, then the sunlight really brightens up my mind and I become fully illuminated. And so there is complete identity between us. Now, going back to the particular verse of the 8th chapter that we were on, number 19, one other thing to keep in mind is that Swami Paramarthananda so clearly pointed it out so very nicely, is that the 8th chapter is an exception to the other 17 chapters of the Gita in the following way. The bulk of the Gita, most of the Gita, the primary purpose of the Gita is to give you a glimpse of the ultimate truth about yourself. Brahmagyanam, Atmagyanam, whatever you may call it, is to understand that you are already free, praptasya prapti. This is the main function of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a summary of all the Upanishad, which is the very basic Shastra, the Shastra Jnana. 8th chapter takes a pause and addresses those people who may not yet be educated enough to understand this subtle truth. But really, it is all about education. The very basis of knowledge is the qualification. The knowledge remains the same, but if one is not qualified to understand the knowledge, it appears to be non-knowledge. Right? So the more subtle the knowledge, the more qualified we have. The beauty of it is, and the very rahasyam, the secret. So Vedanta is also called the secret Shastra. It's a very secret, rahasyam. The word rahasyam is used. Rahasyam means it's the ultimate secret. The ultimate secret is that I do not for a minute understand how I can be the fullness of Ishvara. I don't even think about that. The very famous example that comes about where there was we've talked about this before, so I'm just reminding you of it. It's nothing new, but a very often used example. And that is that there was a very successful jeweler that used to take the night train from Mumbai to Surat. Surat is where all the diamond polishing is done. It's a very famous city in Gujarat, where all the diamond polishing is done, and the diamonds are imported from other countries in Mumbai And then the jeweler takes these diamonds, millions of dollars worth, to Surat overnight in the train. And so there was a very sophisticated thief who really understood that this guy, he makes this journey from Mumbai to Surat every few months. When he gets a new shipment, he takes it over. He says, this is what I want to do. So he finds out when he is going next. And so in the Indian Railways on the first class, you have it's a small compartment with only two seats, one up and one down. You may have seen that, if some of you have seen that. So this fellow used to always book that, and so he booked the upper one from there to make sure that at night time he will look at it when he's asleep, because when you are asleep you are dead to the whole world, as we would just say. So they struck up a conversation and so on and so forth. Now, this trader was a very smart person. He knew that this other guy is a well-known thief, robber, thief actually. He knew that. The thief doesn't know that the other person knows I'm a thief. Anyway, they both got in. They had a nice conversation about life and so on before they went to sleep. Hello? Oh, okay. Some work is going on upstairs, so I thought they wanted me. So when this fellow went to sleep, the thief got up and really went through the entire compartment to see whether the jewels are. He couldn't find them. He got up in the morning and he told the guy, "Sir, I have to confess to you, I'm a thief. And I saw you bringing in the diamonds and I've been really looking for it, but I have not found it." He says, "I put it under your pillow, underneath your pillow." So this was the ultimate secret. He would look anywhere else except underneath his own pillow. So similarly is our situation. So this is why Vedanta is called the ultimate rahasyam. It's a secret. So that being the case, our main thing that we have to do is to really find it where it really is, as opposed to looking at things around us. And so, Hritteshe iti Arjuna. So Krishna says, you have to look for me in your own heart. It's kind of like inside your heart, as the very content of your heart. This is what we have to see. So in doing so, this is also a similarity that the manifestation hides it. And the non-manifestation also hides it. And so what we have to see is, this is exactly what doing in the Tuesday night class that we are going to unfold in the Kenopanishad. It is different from the known and different from the unknown. Atma is neither known nor unknown. How can that be? There's only should be two categories. Either a thing is known or knowable, or unknown and therefore unknowable. No. It is unknown but knowable. How? How can you say that? Because it is the one thing that doesn't need to be known. It already is. This is the secret. This is where we have to see. So, in the unfolding of this of Vidya, we saw the gradation, and so this is going to be an interesting one. I want to just talk a little bit about this gradation of Vyakta and Avyakta. Vyakta means manifest, and Avyakta means non-manifest. And the non-manifest is in two classes. Class number one is where it temporarily becomes unmanifest. And class number two is it will never be manifest, but it is already there. So we'll look into that. Let's proceed how this is. Okay. So take, for example, the night of our lives, the nights in our lives, when we're in deep sleep. Okay. So in deep sleep, we becomes avyakta, non-manifest. Our thoughts are not there. In fact, our sense of being a person is also not there. Ahankara, which is the very source of my issues. When I am ahankara, then everything all comes back to me. As soon as I wake up in the morning, the first thing is I am someone. When I am someone, then the other things are automatically, what am I going to do? Where am I? What are my to-do list? What's undone? All those things happen automatically. Swami Maheshananji says that there was an army officer, and these army officers, when they are walking around with their chest, and they have these army shirts which are all well creased, and it's full of medals. They have all these medals that are hanging there. I don't know how they go around the whole day. When they have to go to the bathroom, I don't know how they can take everything off. But anyway, they walk around with these dozens of medals hanging from their chest and pinned to the very pockets and so on. So there was a youngster who was very curious. He walked up to this army general and said, "Sir, how did you get so many medals? My gosh, you must have been so accomplished, and it must have taken so many efforts. Each medal means that a lot of thought has to be given, and so you must have gone to the various events where they honored you. I'm very impressed. Can you please tell us, how did you get these events, all these medals?" So the army officer put his hand on the shoulder of this youngster and said, "Son, here's what happened. This isn't exactly what you think it is." He says, "When I am appointed the general of the army, yes, that's a great recognition, and I got that promotion, and I'm very happy with it. But," he says, "the moment I get it, what happens is all these various groups, they want to give me the honor of giving me their medals. So I didn't even have to do anything. It all came in mail with a letter saying, 'We are very honored to give you this medal. Please wear it on your chest.'" And he says, this all happens automatically. I don't have to do anything. So similarly, Swami Maheshananji says that when we get up in the morning and you have your sense of jiva, your sense of ahankara, then all these other things crowd on to you. You cannot just have an isolated ahankara. Your friends, your disappointments, your pleasures, all your experiences, your to-do list, sense of accomplishment, everything just crowds around to you, and you hang around the whole day with portions of it somewhere, as though they are kind of like medals on your chest. This is what happens. But at night time, none of these are there because the ahankara itself is not there. The sense of my ability, my beingness is itself not good. Therefore all the medals are also gone. It's like taking the shirt off and going to sleep on your pajamas. Nothing is really hanging on your chest. And so this is the avyakta. This is the first stage of the avyakta. There is a second stage of avyakta which is coming. So let us understand this. But the first stage of avyakta is that you go back to a stage where you are not a person. You are not a person. Your person is your personness. I'm not talking about the personality, but I'm talking about the person itself is suspended until you wake up again. Then the person kind of gets resurrected as though. Okay? This is what happens between the typical day and night. So the 24 hours of the day and night is a very important element, because this is where the whole cycle is repeated by Ishvara. This is his design. Anyway, this is what happens. Now, one more thing. When the body becomes too weak to sustain my ahankara, because right now my ahankara rests on a particular form of the body. I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm so old, I'm white, I'm brown, I'm black. All those kinds of bodily functions are part and parcel of the ahankara. Okay? In addition to that, I have the subtle bodies, the sukshma sharira. This is the sthula body. And then you have the subtle body, which is thoughts, tendencies, education, doubts, everything mental. This is where I have my suspended sukshma sharira. Those also disappear at night time. Everything is disappeared. But when the body becomes not supporting it, because the body of course has its own laws. It is supported by the Pancha Mahabhutas, the five great elements of Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha, and Prithvi. And then it deteriorates. What happens is that when it is no longer functioning, the heart ceases to pump, or the kidneys fail, and all those kinds of, there's so many possibilities of the body failing. So what happens is that this jiva, this ahankara, is suspended as though it is a night, and to be reunited. See, this is a message from someone. Okay, good. He says that Vishwanath says that the class audio is perfect. He's not a member of this class, but he's a neighbor of mine, and he attends the morning class. So he just said that everything is going on good. Good. So, so in the transition between one life and the other, all that happens is that the unmanifested state has to wait to get a new body. And there are laws associated with it. We have really seen all of that. It is your own, you're deserving of what kind of a body you want, what kind of a parentage you want. And so all selection process goes on until the same ahankara now takes the form of another body, and slowly the Sukshma Sharira becomes manifested. It takes a little while. If you look at a baby, it doesn't have those thoughts yet. It is simply surviving. But slowly, those Sukshma Shariras from the previous life also fructify. And the same tendencies that you had before, which is love, affection, or the sense of imperfection, whatever it is, they get resurrected as though in the form of a new body. So now this is what is called avyakta number one. So what is avyakta number one? It is called a jivatma which maintains its identity of having the Sukshma Sharira associated with different Sthula Sharira. You know all of this stuff. It's not as though something new, but I'm just summarizing it to make a point. Okay? So, this is what is called this jiva. So I can actually completely go through this, and then I'll come back to this jiva. So then after, what happens is you keep on doing this over and over again until you inquire into the very nature of this jiva, and you decide that this is not who I am. I am not just a wave of the ocean. I am the very water itself, which has no form whatsoever. In which case you're done. You're done. You're finished. Your sense of isolation is finished. And so what we said earlier, that you're almost the same as Ishvara, that becomes a palpable reality. Okay? This is what happens. Now, until then, you retain a sense of jivatvam, either manifest or unmanifest. So when a person dies, for example, this is what is said. So listen to this part of it. There's often said, the soul of the person survives. Isn't it? Because there is somebody who is there, who is no longer there in the body. Swami Maheshanji had given this example. He said, and there was a father who was very ill, quite old and ill, and his daughter was not with him. She had gone to, let's say the father is in India and the daughter is studying or working or having a family in the US. And the father kept asking her that, I'm very ill. I wish to see you and say goodbye to you. I want to give you a hug. I want to embrace you. And I'm really fading fast. Please come as quickly as possible. So the daughter also got into the flight and was hoping that when she reaches the home, her father's wishes will be fulfilled. So she reaches home, she takes a taxi, she's now waiting. And as soon as she reaches home, she knew her father had died. Just died, just in the last hour or so. His body was still there. He was just lying there. What does she do? He starts crying and says, I am so sorry not to be here to meet you. Why does she say that? Because the body is still there. His arms and his chest and face and everything is still there. But she knows that the person has gone. Person has gone. I mean, how can you say that because the body is still there and so on? No, she knows. She knows that this father of mine who really wanted to, and I'm so late, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it. I was living so far away, 24 hours away on the other part of the world, because he's gone and I could not say goodbye to him and he could not say goodbye to me. So she knows that the Atma is there somewhere. Okay, so this is what is called secondary Atma. That means that this is a Jivatma. It's not the real Atma, it is a Jivatma. It is some kind of like a Mithya Atma. And similarly, by the way, another thing on this is when people say, like supposing you tell your friends, you declare that my mother or my father has passed away, and so people send condolences. They say, I'm very sorry to hear that. It just happened yesterday. Our neighbor and friend Sabir Bhatia, his mother just died a couple of days ago. And I just sent him the condolence just yesterday. We know her very well. She was a great friend of ours. His father had died 2, 3 years ago, and now his mother also has died. Well, I just sent this. This is very fresh in my mind. And so what we say is, in addition to our condolences and so on, we say, may his Atma find a peace. I mean, I didn't say that in this message, but this is what normal people will say, isn't it? May the Atma find his peace. Or they'll say, may his soul rest in peace. This is a normal thing. What does it really mean? Is it false to say that? No, it's not false to say that, because when you say that, I didn't say that because I didn't want to say the may her Mithya Atma rest in peace. That's implied in my mind. I cannot say that her real Atma may find peace because her real Atma is already peaceful as it can be. So this will be a falsehood on my point to say, may her Atma be peaceful. In non-Sanskrit, people will say, may his or her soul rest in peace. So what does it mean? What it is meant is that this secondary Atma, which is a Jivatma, which becomes manifest and unmanifest from time to time, may that person, may that Jivatma find some peace. And that is accurate. That should be done that way. And so my prayers, if I find somebody who has passed away, my prayers are, may you find the next life peaceful and productive and be moving in the right direction. That's my prayers to you, and your own prayers additionally to that. Hopefully this will happen. So this is anyway now as number 9, verse number 19. We'll come back to verse number 19. That there is a avyakta number 1. And avyakta number 1 is where the non-manifested stage rests, like a sleeping person or a dead person. A dead person and a sleeping person are almost the same. The only difference is that a sleeping person still has a reusable body and a dead person has to find a new body. That's it. There's no other difference. And so this is called avyakta number 1. But this is also there are 2 Shaktis that Ishvara has and 2 Shaktis that Jiva has. right? So one is Parashakti and one is Aparashakti. So even though here in this analysis we have three segments. We have Vyakta, Avyakta number one and Avyakta number two. But in reality, these should be collapsed into two, which is Parashakti and Aparashakti. So Ishvara's Parashakti is the Swarupa Lakshanam, which doesn't change at all. And his Aparashakti is Tatastha Lakshanam, which we saw in the last class, is the relative expression using the Maya. Janma Sthiti Pralaya Hetuhu. This is the Ishvara. This is the Shakti of projection, the manifestation. So the manifestation is really the Aparashakti, incidental. And the Parashakti is the reality which never changes, which is the very basis of the Aparashakti. And this Parashakti is not part of the creation. It is not, it is timeless. It is spaceless. Always there, as we saw earlier. Janma rahitaha. Na udeti na astameti esha. Na vriddhim yati na kshayam. Sorry about this sound. My solar panels are being washed by somebody, and hopefully this will last not too long. So I'd never really cleaned it, and somebody said that if you clean it, you get 20% more. And so I'd asked these people, and they chose to come this weekend. So that's what they're doing, I think. So we may have to be interrupted just momentarily, so just stay with me. I'm sorry about this. So the Parashakti is outside the creation. Atma. This is the real Atma. And it is not within the creation. It is not part of the time. It is something which is independent of time, independent of space, independent of any limitation. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And independent of any problems. This is a Parashakti. So this is the Ishvara's Parashakti and Aparashakti. But here's the situation. This is what I think it needs to be thought over. That Aparashakti and Parashakti is mine too. This is where the identity comes in, as we were saying earlier. This is what I have to see. I also have the same Parashakti, and I have the same Aparashakti. There's a small difference in the Aparashakti in the sense that the Ishvara he's got his presence in the whole world, whereas my presence is limited. I'm only here, not there. So in that sense, all of the waves of the ocean belong to the ocean, whereas only my wave belongs to the same ocean. That's it. No big difference. So this is what is being talked about in the verses number 18, number 19, 20 and 21. So let us pick up the thread from the Bhagavad Gita. So in what we had done last time was number 19. So that verse was Bhutagramah sa eva ayam bhutva praliyate ratra agame avashaha partha prabhavati aharagame. So he says that every night there is a repetition of Manifestation and unmanifestation. Manifestation and manifestation. Bhutva bhutva. I begin again and the day ends. I begin again another day, same thing happens. So I go between manifestation and manifestation, flitting back and forth. Okay? And avashaha means that I have no control over it. This is how the prarabdha karma is just taking me and I'm flowing with it. Then comes verse number 20. Paras tu paraha tasmad avyaktat anya avyakta bhavaha. So I'm just parsing out these words. Tu means however, means a complete different direction now. However, tasmat avyaktat, different from the avyakta number 1, which is simply a non-manifestation of jivatma at night or in death, both of them clubbed together. Different from that avyakta, which is simply a non-manifestation of the jivatvam anyway. There is another manifested, anyaha avyakta bhavaha. There is another unmanifested thing, yaha sanatana, which is timeless. Here even the word eternal is to be understood to be not eternal within the time. It's not like though I'll always be there, I'm still there, I'm still there, I'm still there, I'm still there, everybody else has disappeared, I'm still there, I'm still there. There's no thoughts. You are. You don't have to be living or non-living or anything. You are the very basis of the whole thing. This is what the this sanatanaha. Na vinashyati. So this is the very definition of the word paraha. So paraha means one that outlasts. That means when all the waves are gone, the water is still there. The waves come up, the water is still there. Sanatana. This is what is called Sanatana Dharma. The very concept of being timeless. So this is what so he says, na vinashyati sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu. So this is called present participle. Yatshatsu means all the manifestation things being disappearing. It is still there. So all the ornaments disappearing, but the gold is still there. This is the avyakta number 2, which is given in the verse number 20. Okay, I think we have pretty much covered that, so we can now go ahead. So if you just look at it, it should be really seen personally that if I look at all of my constituents, so just look at it, just close your eyes for a minute, for a second, and just take an evaluation of you as a person. Who are you as a person? You as a person is one that has a form. You have things that are visible to you. They are experienced by you. You can see your breath coming in. You can even feel your heart beating. You can open your eyes and see external forms, or close your eyes and see the darkness. You're hearing these sounds. You can move your body left and right. And you can see continuous change even while being here. Everything is changing. Even the cells in your body are continuously changing. Your food is getting digested. The blood is moving. All of these things that belong to you are changing. But the one thing which is not changing is your awareness. Even if you want to change the awareness, you cannot. That you are aware. Satyam Jnanam. I know. This knowingness what you are may change. You are awake, you are sleeping, you are young, you are old, all of that could change. But that you are doesn't change. You are. You can say to yourself, I am. I am aware. This has no limits. Anantam. This is the Parashakti. Parashakti is called Para because everything else disappearing. Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Bhuteshu here means the entire set of manifested elements, some in your body, some outside the body, but all a mixture of the Pancha Mahabhutas, the five great elements. So, Sarva Bhuteshu Nashyatsu, while they are all getting destroyed, getting changes, na vinashyati, satyam jnanam anantam, stays as it is. Don't you see this? This is not difficult to see. Sri Krishna is just pointing this out for us. He says, see this. This is not theoretical, not something you have to read books on and believe in it. You just have to see the truth directly. Anyway, so this is what verse number 20 says. He says, Paraha tasmat tu bhavaha anyaha avyaktaha avyaktat sanatanaha. So he says the second avyakta, which is the real avyakta. So this is real avyakta, which is different from the first avyakta, which is the Maya Shakti. So the Maya Shakti is the one that becomes unmanifested temporarily until it becomes Vyakta again. It goes back and forth. But this Avyakta, the second Avyakta, which is your Sakshi, which is you, is different from what is known and different from what is unknown, because it is the content of both which is known as well as unknown. It doesn't need to be known. This is the thing that we have to see. It doesn't need to be known. What needs to be known is simply the Pancha Mahabhuta Prapancha. This is all the manifestation. I want to know how to be successful. I want to know how to be healthy. All of those kinds of things need to be known. And sometimes not known. But that I am is already known. And it cannot be, you don't need to manifest it. There's no way to manifest it. It is already there. That's the very basis. That's the very reality. Satyam Jnanam Anantam, as we saw. This is the Sakshi. No form. This is what it is. It's an important verse. Paras tasmat tu bhavaha anyaha avyaktaha avyaktat sanatanaha sa yaha sa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Number 20. So let's go to number 21. So he now describes this second avyakta, which is your own reality, in the following verse number 21. Avyaktaha aksharaha iti uktaha tam ahuhu paramam gatim yam prapyana nivartante taddhama paramam mama. So in the next few verses, number 21 and especially number 22 onwards, it describes the attainment as though the attainment of this final avyakta. It is praptasya praptihi. It is already attained. So this is a kind of like a journey which is a strange journey. Because there is no going anywhere. It is to understand that you are already there. So the very process of understanding can be called a journey. Not a physical journey, it's a mental journey. That's what he's being talked about. So anyway, he says, Avyaktataha. Avyaktataha. Avyaktaha means the unmanifested. Aksharaha. Imperishable. So this second one is Sanatanaha Aksharaha. So Aksharaha means Naksharati iti Aksharaha. So the one which is not only timeless, but also within the time there is no change in it. Na udeti na akshare na ast, in the Drigdrishya Viveka, number 5, I think. Na udeti na astameti esha na vriddhim yati nakshayam swayam vibhati ti anyani sadhanam vina. Beautiful verse number 5 of Drigdrishya Viveka, which we studied before this 8th chapter. Same thing. So Akshara means there is no change. Even when there is apparently a change, there is no change. This is what I have to see. Aksharaha iti uktaha. This is how it is said. This is how it is. How it means. This is the right way to describe it. And this Paramam Gatim. Paramam Gatim means this is the ultimate goal of all of our being. This is the goal of life, really. There is no other goals are not real goals. The goal of being successful is not the real goal. Because what do you mean by success? How do you define success? That's all arguable. It's not the real goal. The real goal is this Paramam Gatim, this Aksharaha. Ahu. Ahu means they describe. Who describes? Yam prapya na nivartante. Means that those who have traveled this path, if you may, this state, dhamaha, or who have attained this dhamaha, this state of being, they say there is nothing going back. There is no bhutva. It was given in number 18 or 19. Again and again being born again and again pursuing it. It doesn't happen. You're done. Naturally. So the whole translation of number 21 is, that manifested being is said to be the imperishable one, and the scriptures declare that being to be the supreme goal. That is the supreme abode of mind, attaining which they do not return. So as explained before, this is how this was done. So here Swami Paramarthananda, whose notes I'm actually just kind of using to structure my thoughts also on this. And so this is a very, this is interesting travel, it's not as though you travel to reach Brahman. You use knowledge to reach Brahman. And through that knowledge, you drop the notion that Brahman is away. That's what it happens. Praptasya prapti. Another 5 minutes. This is start of an explanation where the process of this journey is further elaborated on. And I think what I will do is not start that section because that has a certain flow of ideas which is slightly different from what we are doing before. They're all connected, but it starts anew, and I think that I will wait for it to for next week to do so. So just kind of looking ahead, let's do a prayer, and then I will I'll tell you about the next stage. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, so I had indicated to you last week that I will write to you about the Kaivalya Upanishad, and I was not being able to do that for the following reason. In talking to a couple of the students who advised me that what we should do is the way this transaction is held, where I send you the books and so on, we should wait for a new way of doing things where you don't send me any checks. It's just done online. So they were setting that up for me, and that took a little longer time. In fact, it is still not completely done. In the next few days, I think we will find we're going to open a new account that allows this transaction. My current account at Wells Fargo did not allow this, so that was the problem. And so we're in the process of doing that, and it should be done in the next few days. So then I will write to you about if you want to sign up for it. So in terms of classes, let's just look ahead. So today is the 10th. Let's see, where are we? We are number 21. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more verses. 7 more verses. Let's do this. Why don't we set a date that we will finish this in the next 4 classes? Okay, possibly even 3. Yeah, why don't when we finish chapter 8 in 3 classes, that will be 17th, 24th, and the 31st. Then on the 7th of August, we will start Kaivalya Upanishad. And if I'm not able to send it to you, I think I should be able to send it to you in the next 2, 3 weeks. It's okay. The first class, you don't have to have the book. Some of you already have the books, I know. But it doesn't matter. The first class can be without the book, and then you will see the book. So that can be done. All right. So, decision made. We are going to start Kaivalya Upanishad on Saturday, the 7th of August. And I will send you an email confirming that. And so we are now set. So let me see if you had any questions. Let me look at that. And I will send you an email confirming. 3, 4. All right. Good. Sound is good. Interestingly, you say sound good. You didn't say sounds good. I'm hoping that you also agree that it sounds good. Both the sound and the message behind the sound is good. Oh, I know that. I'm just. Anyway, very happy that you're all here. Please enjoy the rest of the day. Or, as the case may be in Italy and other places, the rest of the night or evening. And we will see you next week. Om.